Welcome back. Let's take a look at this week's auction numbers. There are 1,804 auctions scheduled to take place this week, and that's up 15% when compared to the same week last year. New South Wales will host 686 auctions, with most of them in Sydney. Victoria will host 673 auctions, with most of them in Melbourne. Queensland will host 269 auctions, with about half of them in regional areas. South Australia will hold 111 auctions, with most of them in Adelaide. Western Australia, Tasmania and the Northern Territory will hold 14 between them, and Canberra will hold 51 auctions. The most viewed properties going to auction this week are, in New South Wales, top property is 16 Birubi Crescent Bilgola Plateau. This four-bedder has pitwater views and a price guide of $1.8 million. In Victoria, the top property is 20 John Holland Court, Blackburn. This three-bedder has a price guide of up to $1.1 million. In Queensland, the most viewed property is 24 Thredbo Drive, Warrengarry. This large four-bedroom home has a pool, creek frontage and sits on about 4,000 square metres. The top property in South Australia is 180 Seaview Road, McLaren Vale. This large property includes an indoor basketball court, swimming pool and parking for 10 cars. And the most viewed property in Western Australia is 29 Haynes Street, North Perth. This two-bedroom bungalow has Art Deco features. And the most viewed property on the REA Group website this week is in Melbourne. This grand home called Rathgar was built in 1886, but it's been extensively renovated, complementing the old and the new design together into a giant modern property. The ad says it's a heritage mix of old and new, stone and glass, classic and contemporary. The home has 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, an indoor cinema and underground parking for 8 cars. Outside it has a heated pool, heated spa as well, tennis court, pavilion and landscaped gardens. The property sits on about 1,700 square metres, has city views and is close to local schools. Price guide is $18.5 to $20 million and expressions of interest close on the 22nd of August. For more on property, I caught up with Cameron Kusher, the Director of Economic Research at REA Group, a little earlier.
It's very unseasonal how strong the number of auctions is at the moment. It's up about 15% from at the same week last year. And I guess it shows that we are starting to see more properties come onto the market. People that are looking to sell are coming out of the woodwork. Usually at this time of year, people would be waiting till spring, but not so. We're starting to see more and more properties come onto the market now, and I guess it's reflective of how weak the number of new listings coming to market has been for most of the past 12 months.
How much of a factor is rising interest rates playing to this? Are there now people starting to offload homes that they're potentially struggling on the repayments?
There's no, in the data, there's no evidence of that happening, but anecdotally, we're certainly hearing more investors are looking at getting out of the market at the moment. Now, some of that could be profit taking. Prices have increased quite a lot over the last few years. Other part of that could be that people are starting to struggle with the higher mortgage repayments, remembering that no one thought interest rates would be this high at this time, going back even sort of 12, 18 months ago. So it's definitely putting a strain on people's budgets. And we know that a lot of people are also coming off their fixed rate mortgages, which were around 2% and are now looking at closer to 6%. And it's hard to find all that additional cash to continue to repay some of those mortgages.
Property usually the one that people would sell first.
Definitely. I mean, people will do whatever they can to try and hold on to their own home. So it's going to be, if people have an investment property or a holiday home, that's probably the one that they're going to dispose of, certainly before they dispose of the family home. And I think the people that are having difficulty with repaying the mortgage on their family home will be talking to their banks, seeing if there's mortgage holidays available, seeing if they can extend out the loan term, seeing if they can switch from principal and interest to interest-only mortgages for a short period of time as well. So I think generally lenders will be fairly pragmatic about those kind of things if they can be. The last thing they want to do is repossess someone's home and have to sell it. But I think people that have multiple properties and are finding it hard, the sensible thing is to try and sell off one or a few of those properties.
And do you expect more stock is going to come onto the market over the next few months as interest rates potentially go even higher over the next couple of months as well?
I think we're probably likely to at least see another interest rate hike, maybe two. But I think it's pretty clear that we're getting closer to the end of the hiking cycle. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've started to see more people come out of the woodwork and put their properties onto the market. As I said at the start, it's unseasonally strong, the number of auctions and the number of new listings we're seeing at this time of year. And we know that spring is always a strong period for the housing market, albeit it wasn't last year. So I wouldn't be surprised to continue to see quite strong listing conditions over the next few months.
Yeah, at the same time, prices seem to be going up pretty strongly. So what are the main things that are really pushing up property prices for the first 6 or 7 months now of this year?
Well, the low stock and the low volume of new stock through most of the last 6 months has been a key driver of why prices have been rising. Also, the really strong migration to Australia. We obviously have a housing deficiency. Migration has been the strongest ever. If we look over the 2022 calendar year, it was almost 500,000 net overseas migrants coming into the country. They all need to live somewhere. So that's certainly been a factor. And as I said earlier, I think just the case the interest rates aren't rising as rapidly as they are and we're getting closer to that peak in the cycle, people that had been delaying whether to buy or sell a property have just started to get on with it again after, largely deciding not to do that over the last sort of 6 to 12 months of last year.
And with such an unseasonable amount of stock on the market at the moment, are you expecting that to have any impact at all on clearance rates now that buyers potentially have more choice to buy various homes?
Yeah, I mean, in some markets, we've already seen auction clearance rates drift a little bit lower from where they were at their peak, maybe sort of 6 to 8 weeks ago. And we know that during spring, when there's more stock available for sale at auction, clearance rates do tend to drift a little bit lower as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see this heightened volume of properties going to auction, that we will see those clearance rates drift lower. And we might also start to see property price growth slow down from the rates we've been seeing over recent months.
And we've also seen really high rents for the last sort of 12 to 18 months. Is that encouraging some investors to get back into the market again?
There's little evidence of investors returning to the market. If we look at the housing finance data, there's been a very moderate jump over the last couple of months, but there's also been an increase in lending to first home buyers and to owner-occupiers, subsequent buyers. So it's not out of scope of what we've seen more broadly in the market. But certainly, again, I think once we get to that stability in interest rates, that's when investors will be attracted back into the market more so than they are at the moment. But now they're facing other headwinds. Land tax is reassessed every 2 years. We've had very strong price growth. So the reassessment of land tax the reassessment of unimproved capital values of land is pushing up the land tax on rental properties. There's a lot of talk out there around rental freezes or rental caps, and I think that's discouraging people getting into the market as well. So what investors want is certainty. Interest rate certainty will be part of that, but also it'll be about hopefully moving beyond talk of rental caps and rental freezes as well.
Well, Cameron Kusher from REA Group, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Ed.